Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Glenn Tan speaking. This time, I'm going to talk about GRID Multi VRF, the controllers. This presentation divides into these 5 parts. I have put the corresponding videos linkages at the below description area just for your convenience. First chapter, Wire Controller Basic. This table displays the summary of all the wire controller available for the GMV. Here is the model, here is the dimensions, and this is the appearance. And the basic one is SK46. And the advanced one, it is XE70. It can individually control the cassette type lever. And also it is the special for the ERV plus coil. And besides, it has the weekly timer, which is convenient for the customer to control. And besides, we put all the command or the functions and the parameter directly on the screen. So on site, you don't need to memorize the codes for different functions or different parameter. You can just change the screen, the display value directly is okay. Next, we go to the XK55. This one just compared with the basic SK46. It has the touch screen, and also we put all the commands directly on the screen, so you can select it easily. The next is SK79. For this one, just compare with the basic one, it is small size. From this one, small size, and also it has the key card function, which means if you stay in hotel, we allow you to insert the card, then you can turn on the indoor unit. And if the card is taken out, there are 2 options. The first is to turn off the indoor unit, the other is apply the setback function. And later I will make a detailed explanation about this function. First, I'm going to introduce the SK46, the basic one. Here is the appearance. And there are 36 icons on the LCD display and totally 10 buttons for control. And as for this LCD display, the detail is here. This area is for the mood. Here is for the function. Here is to select how the lever swing. This is the fan speed area. And here is for the timer. And at the middle, there is the setting temperature or the detected temperature display. On the other hand, here, this one is the infrared receiver, which means it can receive the wireless remote control signal. As for how to do the wiring, it's very easy. Just on the indoor unit, here is the terminals. The D1, D2 is for the outdoor unit or to next indoor unit. For this wire controller, you need to connect to this H1, H2 is fine. This is one wire controller to control one indoor unit. As for one wire controller to control multi-indoor units, the wiring is just like this. They should series connected with each other. And the max is 16. And the wiring just follow this one. And besides, you also need to set on this wire controller the P14, which is to set the glue control. The quantity, it should be the same as the actual situation. 2 wire controller to control one indoor unit. The wiring is you need to put this 2 wire controller to the same indoor unit, the same H1, H2 together. And also to select either one of this Y controller as the master, which is to change the P13. Two Y controllers to control multi-in-dot unit. And also first is the upper limit, also the same 16, and the wiring also similar to one for multis, which is series connected H1, H2, and then put this two Y controller at the same time to the H1, H2 is okay. And also select either one of it as the master controller at P13, and also set on the P14 the group control quantity. Here is the detailed meaning for different functions of the icons. You can refer to the owner's manual for detail. Here I just explain the complicated or the confused ones. First is the saving function. You will see this, the dollars here. That means it is the saving mode for the in-dot unit. That means we allow you to change the setting limit of this Y controller, which means according to the setting limit you can save the power, which is this one, to change the upper limit and the lower limit of the setting temperature. If this save but icon, that means it is the saving mode of the out-dot unit. That means we can directly lower the out-dot input, which is to lower the out-dot unit output capacity. And you have two options. First is to lower 10%, the other is to lower 20%. As for the next is the quiet mode. We will display this icon. For this quiet mode, there are two options, which is the quiet directory, which we can lower the in-dot fan RPM directly to lower the in-dot unit noise. And the other is auto quiet. That means there is a AT here. That means auto. It will, along with the room temperature, approach to the setting temperature. The in-dot fan, it will lower gradually, which means slowly slow down. And this is not available for the dehumidify and air supply mode. Action function, also called 8-degree heating function. This is can maintain your in-dot room temperature to at about 8 degrees to avoid frozen. X-fan, this is when you turn off the in-dot unit in cooling. The in-dot fan still operate for another 2 or 3 minutes to blow out the condensing water to avoid moisture. This one, artificial intelligence. That means the connected outdoor unit is GNV6. And this fresh air, this icon means this is only for the AHU kit when you select the fresh air function. And this healthy means the cold plasma. This is optional and similar to the RAC unit to prepare this material. This is to clean the air or higher the air quality. Group control. When this icon is turned on, that means this one, just like this, use 1 or 2 Y controller to control multi-in-dot units. The setting is on P14. Slave controller. That means the current controller it is slave controller. Also, you can apply on these two cases, which is 2 Y controller to control one in-dot unit or 2 Y controller to control multi-in-dot unit. So you need to select either one of this controller as the slave controller. Shield function, or also called block the setting from the Y controller. Here is the turn on method. You can set it from the remote monitoring software or from this central controller. And from here, you can first select the specific in-dot unit. Then from this advanced setting, we offer you this file. which is this file, we can offer you to control all of the setting, or to turn on or turn off this indoor unit, or to change the mood, or to change the temperature, or to use the timer. And if you would like to turn off this setting, here is how to make it. You can set it from the engineering setting P35 and P36 to reset the setting, or you can use the outdoor unit function setting NU to achieve it. And also from the indoor unit PCB, which is located here, which is this part, there is a button here. Press this button and until you will hear the beep, that means the reset. And also you can set it from the portable debugger or the commissioning software on the PC. It is available to turn off this shield function. Mask indoor unit setting. How to set it is during the off mode, just like this. You can long press this mode button for 5 seconds. Then this connected Y controller or connected the indoor unit will become the master, and here we display this master icon. Parameter for user checking and set. For this one, it is available for the customer or the user to check and set, and just follow this password. You can enter the corresponding codes, that means corresponding parameter or corresponding functions. This table is the check-in item for the user, and according to the name, you can find it. It is just the system configuration information. And for this one, the user can check it and also do the confirmation for you. Here I just explain the most common use items. This is the second page. And this is C14, 15, and C16 is the most common use for the after sales person, and which is to check the operating parameter of this indoor unit, including the pipe in, pipe out, and also the EXV opening. This is the engineering parameter setting password. For this one, you are going to change the corresponding codes for different parameters and functions. For this one, it will affect the system performance and also the operation. I will introduce the most common use items just for your reference. The first is the indoor unit room temperature selection. For this one, the code is P20. For this, actually we have two sensors for this indoor unit. For example, if we connect to the dark time, one is at the air return here, the other is at the Y controller. And according to the setting, you can higher the room temperature detected accuracy or the sensitivity. And we have these 4 options for you, which is to decide where the room temperature sensor. And here is an example that the customer just complained that the coolant is too cold and with setting temperature 23 degrees, and refused to change the setting temperature. And for this one, and this may be due to the temperature sensor, which is the default setting at cooling is at the air return. And then you can change it to here, which is too close to the customer. Then this may change the room temperature. And for this one, the solution is the service people just select this P20 and choose to be Y controller as the room temperature. Adjustment of room temperature sensor. This is the correction value. P21 for cooling, dehumidify, air supply. P22 for heating. The range is plus minus 15. And according to this, you can also to meet the customer setting. And here is the example that the customer complained about the cooling too cold with the setting temperature 23. Even we select this wire controller as the room temperature, and from the thermometer around the wire controller, which is detected 20 degrees, we confirm that this is due to the sensor value deviation. And our solution is adjust this P21, which is for cooling, to be +3. Then the setting temperature also is the same, 23, but the calculation for this indoor unit it already changed to be 26 degrees. So from the final result, which is for the calculation for the GMV system, we make it to be 23, which can meet the customer's requirement. ESP setting of indoor fan motor P30. For this one, we allow you to change this ESP setting of the indoor unit to higher or lower the indoor fan RPM. And the default value is 0.5, and what you can change is this. Actually, for the inside value, it is already fixed in the control program. What you can change is this part. According to different level, the different fan speed for different fan speed setting, and it is available to set from the wireless remote controller, but it is only from P03 to P07. Switch temperature setting in auto mode. P37 for cooling to heating, and P38 for heating to cooling. That means even in auto mode, we are allowed to set the switch temperature between cooling and heating. This can meet the customer's requirement. Indoor unit operating parameter checking and setting. First is P48. This is the minimum ESV opening powers of heating of indoor unit. First of all, what is heating of indoor unit? That means this indoor unit including thermal off, which is the room temperature, meets the set point. This indoor unit will turn off, right? And this is the heating off, and also include the turn off when you turn off this indoor unit manually. And for these two indoor unit, even it is not operate, but still there is some refrigerant to flow through. And do you know why? The reason is that the refrigerant, which is from the outdoor unit, from the compressor, it will still hot, and this hot gas will release heat at this indoor unit, and then the gas will become liquid. And if we make it to be fully closed, and this liquid will accumulate at this heating of indoor unit, and sooner or later more and more liquid refrigerant will accumulate at this indoor unit, will lead to not enough refrigerant flow in the circulating cycle, and which means the system will short of the refrigerant. So to avoid this, we make this heating of indoor unit to open a little bit powers, and for this one, the refrigerant can get through and will not accumulate at this heating of indoor unit. However, this will lead to another problem. That means the refrigerant, when it gets through, it will impact to this EXV, which is to impact to the EXV pin, and this will make the noise. Especially this is the heating of indoor unit, which means especially during night time, and it will make the noise to be significant. So to improve this, we can change the open a little bit powers, and this is the minimum ESV, which is to change the refrigerant flow rate to improve the noise. For more detail, you can go to my GMV noise troubleshooting video. And for this one, you can change this the default setting is 0, and also if we display 0, 0 means the change is according to the system control, not by a fixed value. Then you can change this one to a fixed value, for example 70. Then this heating of indoor unit, the EXV will open to this 70, and on side you can check whether this refrigerant or this operating still making noise or not. And what I mean the 0 is this one, according to a detected temperature and pressure, to change this indoor unit EXV automatically. And the next is how to check the indoor fan RPM, and this is only for the DC fan motor, and the code is P50. Then you can make the code to be P52, and then it will display the fan RPM directly on the wire controller. Cold air prevention time setting P78. For this one, the purpose is when you turn on the indoor unit for heating, then the indoor unit will not blow out the air immediately, because it need to make sure it should be hot enough to avoid to blow out the cold wind, just like this. And there are two judgments. First is the inside temperature, which will be detected the indoor tube, or the high pressure. And we miss this requirement, we will turn on the fans to blow out the air. And the next is the max waiting time. And for this P78, what you can adjust is this one. This is the summary parameter for different P codes, for different functions or parameters. And the important is I make it to be different color just for your reference. Second page. And this 3 is the important, and also for the cassette time, if it is installed too high, which we recommend to less than 3.5 meter. If higher than this one, we recommend to set it to bit high ceiling to increase the fan RPM. The third page. Important is this one. That's all for this part of the presentation. If you still have any other question to ask or to discuss, just feel free to contact me on my personal email address.